The issue of Iran and whether or not the United States will engage in war with Iran has been on a lot of people's minds. It seems to be an escalation of tensions between the United States and Iran. And recently, Ali Velshi on MSNBC had Hugh Hewitt on his program to discuss whether or not it makes sense to go to war with Iran. And the debate I thought was fascinating, and I want to share it with you. So let's take a look.
It's not about John Bolton. It's not about Mike Pompeo. It's not about President Trump. It's about the fact that we have a theocracy run by a dictator, and they've blown up 4 oil tankers in the last week. They've attacked Saudi Arabian pipelines, and they are providing missiles to Hezbollah on Israel's north, and they're providing missiles to the Houthi rebels in the civil war in Yemen.
I could say all this stuff about the Saudis, right? The Saudi are bombing the Yemenis. The Saudis have forces. They had them in Syria. They had them in Iraq. What changed? What's changed, and why is it? And the Saudis are run by a dictator too.
I don't think you can say that they act like the Iranian regime. The Iranian regime exports chaos. They are a terrorist organization, and they announced last year, long before the IRG.
Just stop, Hugh, for heaven's sake. The Saudis don't export terror. The Saudis don't have expansionist tendencies. I'm not don't put me in a position to defend the Iranians because I'm not interested at all. But you're inventing this situation that Iran is some kind of danger.
I'll tell you right now, the Iranian regime is quite different from the Saudi regime in its intent to destroy stability in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia does not have an expeditionary corps like the IRGC Quds Force. Saudi Arabia has not attacked shipping in the Persian Gulf from Iran. Saudi Arabia or the United Arab Emirates.
Because we're allies with Saudi Arabia, Hugh, because we're allies, we're enemies with Iran. That's kind of simple, right? Your allies don't attack you, your enemies do.
Yeah, there is no evidence.
And they didn't, by the way.
No evidence. The administration has provided absolutely no evidence that Iran attacked oil tankers. Once they do, then I'll change my commentary, but there is no evidence indicating that. Secondly, Hugh Hewitt opens his argument by saying it is a theocracy run by a dictator. First of all, we have a bit of a theocracy now in the United States where religion is dictating what women can do with their bodies. So let's just mention that real quick.
Which Hugh Hewitt loves.
Right.
He's American Taliban.
Exactly. But here's the thing. So what are we gonna do? We're going to risk the lives of our soldiers in every country where there's a theocracy that's run by a dictator? And Ali Velshi is so right, and I'm so happy that someone on cable television finally had the gall to bring up Saudi Arabia, because you want to talk about exporting terror. I mean, what is Saudi Arabia doing in Yemen right now? Yeah. What about Saudi Arabia's role in what happened on 9/11?
Yeah.
Come on.
So look, this doesn't happen often on cable news, but Ali Velshi made most of the points I was going to make, so I can skip those. So that's great, and credit to MSNBC for having Ali Velshi make those points. Discredit to MSNBC because Hugh Hewitt is not only someone who appears regularly on their air, but he was paid as a contributor and had a show on MSNBC. So for the people who don't understand my criticism of MSNBC, they gave Hugh Hewitt a show to push that kind of warmongering on their so-called. I mean, they don't actually call it a progressive channel. People mistakenly assume it as such, and so. And Hugh Hewitt is paid to do propaganda and to spread lies like that it's evidence that the Iranians attacked the oil tankers, which they don't have evidence on. That's his job, and he goes on MSNBC to do it. Great to see pushback on MSNBC, so credit there. Finally, just one quick point that Velshi referred to, but I just want to elaborate on. When we were in Iraq, it wasn't just that 15 out of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 were Saudis. When they started the Sunni insurgency against us in Iraq, it was funded by Saudi Arabia. And so that is our intelligence officials that proved that out. So our so-called ally was the one that was getting our troops killed day in and day out in Iraq. And then they turn around and go, oh, can you believe Iran might, maybe one day attack us? When the Saudis have already done it over and over again. So understand, and there's 85 dictators in the world. It's so easy to pick one that has a lot of oil and doesn't want to do a financial deal with us and turn around and go, oh my God, a dictator, can you believe a dictator?
Exactly. One more video of this whole debate.
The only thing that's changed is that we got out of the Iran deal. That's what was changed. Can you imagine if we had been negotiating with them and we had a deal?
That is completely wrong. The JCPOA, the Iran deal, the JCPOA, the Iran deal did not in. The JCPOA, the Iran deal, did not deter any aggressive action by Iran vis-a-vis their ballistic missiles, their arming of Hezbollah, their participation in the Syrian genocide, and their stoking of the Yemeni war.
Well, the point is we were in a deal that was acknowledged by the International Atomic Energy Agency, in which Iran was in compliance with the deal. It was acknowledged by Americans that Iran was in compliance with the deal. The deal didn't address any of those things that you just mentioned. So that was actually never what it was supposed to do, but we had dialogue with the Iranians. We were actually there. We were at a table with them. It took 10 years to get there. The only thing that changed is America pulled out.
And we pulled out because that deal had been promised to change Iranian behavior, and it did not change Iranian behavior. If anything, it got worse. What Iran is doing is trying to provoke us into a miscalculation. I don't think we're going to do that, but if they miscalculate and they hit an American Navy ship, we will repeat what happened in 1988 in Operation Praying Mantis, when Ronald Reagan sunk half the Iranian Navy in 2 days.
This
They're
guy
so arrogant.
Is disgusting. And to say that the behavior of the Iranians got worse after the nuclear deal is ridiculous. They gave up, they shipped all of their nuclear material out of the country in 2016. In fact, if they decide to enrich their uranium and start that program again today, it'll take them years to get to the point where they actually have a nuclear weapon. That's huge. So the whole point of the Iran nuclear deal was to get them to stop enriching uranium. And guess what? They were doing that. And even after Trump pulled out of that deal, they continued complying because there were other countries who had signed on to that deal, European countries, Germany, France, Britain, and as long as they were participating, they decided we're gonna keep going with this. But what did the Trump administration do? Basically told these European countries, if you continue doing business with Iran, we're going to retaliate against you.
We're the one constantly agitating for war. So it's not like the Iranians are perfectly innocent. I'll give you that context in a second. But first, to be fair, they shipped out 96% of the uranium, not 100%. It is not for a weapons program, it was for an energy program. And the reality is, yes, they took almost all of it out of the country. So what do you mean they didn't change their behavior? They 100% or 96% changed their behavior. That's a stone cold fact. Hugh Hewitt's job is to lie to you. So when he says, oh my God, the Iranians helped the Houthi rebels in Yemen, that's true. By the way, they took over the country, so it is what it is, right? You say, well, hey, the Saudis might be dictators, but they run the country. So why don't you say the same thing about Yemen? So they helped the Houthi rebels, we helped the other side. He talked about a Syrian genocide. He's like, the Iranians participated in it. Yes, they have a side in the Syrian civil war, which is an absolute disaster. But so do we. And our side is on the side of al-Nusra, which is a branch of Al-Qaeda. So his hypocrisy is unreal. And Hugh Hewitt's not a stupid guy. He knows he's lying, and he just desperately wants war.
Why?
Because of the arrogance and their own theocracy. Because we can't see it. We're rational actors, right? We think, why would you want to go into another disaster like Iraq, except Iran's 4 times larger? Hugh Hewitt thinks, oh no, we're going to sink half their Navy in 2 days. On that, he is stupid and arrogant.
Tom Cotton.
You think it's going to be easy?
Stupid point.
You think it's going to be easy after what we went through with Iraq? That is unbelievable to think that. And then what we fail to understand, because it's not our perspective, is Hugh Hewitt is a theocrat. So he likes religious wars. So, and a lot of his donors are also from donors as in support his shows. You gotta understand something. For progressive shows, there are no secret donors that just give you money. People might invest, there's normal advertising, etc. But for conservative shows, they have donors that just give them money and don't expect anything in return. Why do they do that? Because they're paying for propaganda. And so that's true of Rush Limbaugh, and I'd be very surprised if it wasn't true of Hugh Hewitt's show, because no one watches that or listens to that show.
I didn't even know he had a show.
Yeah, and so they go, okay, I know it's a small audience, but at least MSNBC has you on to lie to their audience and trick progressives who might be watching into thinking that Iran's a real danger. So here's a wad of cash. So who might do that? Defense contractors, oil companies that would stand to benefit from war. And then Hugh Hewitt also thinks, yeah, my Christianity is going to beat your Islam I'm right, you're wrong, which is mental. It's absolutely insane. But he certainly doesn't think it because he thinks Iran's an actual threat. On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.